Well, it's time now to take a look at what's grabbing headlines in the world's press. Florence Villeneuve is back with us in studio.
Hey.
Florence, we've been watching there a lot of unrest in Venezuela after this 14-year-old was shot by a police officer.
That's right. He was shot in the western city of San Cristobal, which was already the epicenter of anti-government protests last year. As you can imagine, this is getting a lot of attention in the Venezuelan press. Here's El Nacional, that's an opposition, very popular paper in Venezuela. It's talking about how 5 people were wounded in those clashes between police and student protesters yesterday. So these protests, protesting over the death of 14-year-old Cluyber Roa. I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name. Now, he was shot dead by the police, and some witnesses say that he was actually shot in the head at point-blank range. Now, Venezuelans have been protesting against food and medicine shortages and soaring inflation, among other things, and many protesters have also been taking to social media to lash out against police brutality. They've been tweeting under the hashtag Maduro asesino del estudiante. So Maduro, the president, Nicolas Maduro, is assassinating students. It's interesting to see how the pro-Maduro papers are reacting to this. This is Ultima Noticia, so a pro-government paper. It's showing a graphic today which shows just what kind of weapons anti-riot police can use depending on various demonstrations. Now, it's interesting to note that just last month, the Maduro government approved a resolution that allows soldiers to use lethal force against protesters if they feel threatened. Critics saying this is an attempt to stamp out any kind of protest and dissent.
Indeed, and a lot of newspapers outside of Venezuela saying that this harsh repression is a sign of weakness.
Absolutely. The Independent says that repression and violence is all that Maduro has left. You can see that here in the Independent. Now, the Independent says that the president is very weakened by the country's devastating economic situation, which has gotten worse because of the fall in oil prices. Oil is the main source of revenue for Venezuela, which has the world's second largest oil reserves after Saudi Arabia. So you can imagine this is very much affecting their economy. And it's Venezuelans who are being hit very hard in their everyday lives. Basic goods are lacking, from food to car parts, cooking oil, detergent, household appliances. All these things have been in short supply. But what's interesting is that toilet paper has really become the iconic product of the shortage. You can read more about it in Slate today, which takes a closer look at just how this shortage came about. And back actually in 2013, the government seized control of a toilet paper factory and announced plans to import millions of rolls of toilet paper, but shortages continued, and Slate says this what led to major exasperation across the country, as you can imagine.
Okay, I can imagine. Moving on, Florence, situation in Ukraine is still getting a lot of attention. It's been all quiet on the Eastern Front for the last 24 hours at least. That's getting attention, but so too is a leaked document from the Kremlin.
That's right. This is a very interesting story. You can read about it in several papers. I pulled out an article in Le Monde which says that Vladimir Putin has planned on taking advantage of Ukraine's weakness for quite some time. So what is this leaked document? Well, it was leaked by Novaya Gazeta. That's an independent Russian paper. And it received this document 2 weeks ago by a Kremlin insider. And the document essentially contains instructions on how to break Ukraine apart. Those are the terms used by Le Monde. Now, according to Novaya Gazeta, the Kremlin received this very same document in February 2014, so 2 weeks actually before the former Ukrainian president, Viktor Yanukovych, fled to Russia to escape the pro-European Maidan protests. Now, what's interesting is just what's inside this document. The document says that Moscow should launch a vast destabilization operation in Ukraine with the objective of federalizing Ukraine, and it should also try to attach several parts of Ukraine to Russia, including Crimea. Now, Le Monde says it's impossible to know whether or not this document is verifiable, but it certainly does sound a lot like Vladimir Putin's current foreign policy.
Okay, one to watch. Finally, I believe you want to end on a musical note, notably women in music.
That's right. Let's take a look at The Independent. It has a photo today. It says, this will be a rare sight at this year's festivals. That's the rapper Azalea Banks. It's not because she's a rapper that it's rare, it's because she's a woman. The Reading and Leeds festivals announced part of their lineup, and only 9 out of 100 acts booked will actually feature female musicians. Now, critics say this is part of a wider problem. Women are underrepresented, whether it's on stage or off stage, and sometimes the women on stage fall off stage. And I'm sorry, that's a terrible transition to my next story about Madonna, the queen of pop. She had a little bit of a tumble at the Brit Awards. It's getting a lot of attention in the press today. There's a pretty spectacular video you can check out on social media. Basically, she tripped on her cape and fell off stage, essentially, onto her back. But she was a real pro and got right back up and started singing. But it is on the front page of The Sun today, the British tabloid, which loves these kind of spectacular stories. You can see here their take on it, The Fallen Madonna, which is a reference to a painting. I did not know that, but there you can see here. The star tumbles at the Brits.
Okay, 9 out of 100 acts. Well, Florence will know if you don't know it. She is a female drummer and singer, so we suggest that her group, Hold Your Horses, is taken on board. There you go, Florence will know. Thank you indeed for that press review.